Hello, everyone, and welcome to session number 8 of Healthy Church Systems. Hopefully, by now, you've implemented some of the last 7 things we've talked about, and you're seeing a noticeable difference in your church. So, we want to wrap it up with what we're calling grow and disciple and develop.
Yeah, I think this one is, as all of them, critical, but really near and dear to my heart, the idea of discipling, helping people mature in their faith. And so we want to give you just a couple of things to help you with this. More than likely, you have some of these things going on. And so we really want to help you clarify what you do have going on. And so we would start off by saying, when you think about discipleship, I think it's important to choose a model. Choose what system, if you will, you're going to employ. I know a lot of people that still use what we would call a Sunday school system. I know people who use what's called a small group system. In my personal opinion, I think there's a hybrid you can do in between both, where it's not one, it's not the other, and some people may reject that, but I think you can do that. But whatever it is, you choose the model that best fits your church.
Right. I believe an important aspect of that is you have to appeal to every group of people, no matter what the age is, whether it be children or students or college, young adults. I was part of a church one time that our model was they got the 20-year-olds together and did something with them on a strategic basis. You know, they did it with the 30s, with the 40s, and it worked. In a small community where we were, it really worked. So no matter what it is that you're doing, just make sure that it's working. A lot of people think, well, it has to be small groups. No, it doesn't. It's what works for you.
Yeah, and we've talked about children, and I want to zone in a little bit on that student ministry and college area. Those are also very critical components to have. Now, if we're talking about, hey, I've just got to get some things right in the church, that children's ministry is going to trump that student ministry if you were going to really get down to the nitty gritty. But student ministry is extremely vitally important, especially we both have teenagers, so it's very important, and that needs to be something that's available for all. But in choosing this model, again, it's just about setting a course for the church so people know, hey, this is the direction we're heading, and it's so critical. I think the second thing that's important with that is to define the when. We can set a course and say, hey, we're going to be a small groups church. We're going to be a church that still focuses on a teacher format, more of a Sunday school model, a hybrid model, whatever it is. We have to define the win.
Right. If we don't, we never know if we're winning. So I believe the important thing in groups, small groups, Sunday school, whatever we're doing, is that we grow closer to each other as we grow closer to God. So figure out what your structure is and put some parameters on it so that you know when you're winning, and when you do win, celebrate it. It's important to celebrate when you win.
Yeah, and just thinking about defining that win, here, let me give you an example of a challenge we would have. Some of you may be, if you have a student pastor, whether they're paid or not, we would say, we want them to reach more people. Men, reach more people, reach more people. So they're out there having pizza parties and games and trying to do illustrated sermons and all this kind of stuff. And then something crazy happens and we're frustrated and saying, well, they need to be deeper in their faith. They need to know more about the Bible. And we think that should all be in one, but let's be honest. We need to be clear with them on, hey, man, we want to see you reach more and more and more people. Hey, we want to see you disciple people. And there can be, again, a hybrid of all of that, but it helps them not focus only on evangelism or only on discipleship or only in one area. And as you say, celebration is key, because what we celebrate gets repeated.
That's true. I believe the third thing is that we measure the results. So how are we going to measure whether we're successful or not? Is it the number of people that attend? Is it baptisms? Is it people joining the church? You determine what it is for your situation, but make sure that you're measuring those results and recording those results.
Yeah, and I think that, again, the measuring results goes in line with the celebration because you don't know what to celebrate if you're not measuring.
Right.
And that whole idea of what we celebrate gets repeated. If you stand up on a Sunday morning and say, hey, I just want to let you know we had 3 people get saved this week in our student ministry. Come on, let's celebrate. That's going to be a driver, Hey, if we had 5 students get baptized, or hey, we had, four of our kids complete, their memory verse challenge, or whatever it may be. What are those results that are happening? Man, we celebrate them. We only celebrate them because we measured them.
Right. And we've been doing all of these sessions so that we can help you build a healthy system in your church. Systems are so important. Structure is important. If you don't have a structure in place, you're never going to sustain anything that God is willing to send you. So have that structure that sets parameters for what is what you can do and what you can't do within the system. Because I'm telling you right now, if you don't define those parameters, there will be people that define them for you.
Yes.
And you will not like the result of what they do.
Yeah, and all this connects together. I think back from the very first session where we were talking about we need to get a vision. What has God called us to do? What has God gifted us to do that maybe no other church in the area can do? Like, what is that? What is the reason He put us there? And that burning vision carries all the way through all 8 of these sessions down to this final one, saying it informs how we disciple. And that's what Pastor Tony's talking about. That determines the structure we place around the spiritual maturity component, the discipleship component of our church, which is critical. And the beautiful thing is we do not have to choose, are we interested in just reaching people? Or are we going to go deeper? A lot of people will be like, we don't have a lot of numbers because we're a deep church, and a lot of times what does deep mean? It just means confusing. Like we confuse people, that was deep, what I mean? I think you can reach people and you can help mature them in their faith if you have a vision, you build the structure, and you choose to follow it, measure those results, and celebrate them.
That's great. So we're going to give you some questions right now, and you can read them in your show notes as well. But what do we hope people will gain from gathering in discipleship groups at our church? What's the ultimate goal of meeting? Is it relationships? Is it discipleship? Is it closer to God? What is it? Are our values aligned with the people who call our church home? It's important that people know what your values are and they align with the people in your community and your church. Have we explicitly communicated with our host, the people leading the group, about what a successful group looks like while giving them the tools to pull it off? Those tools are really important. You need to give them what they need. There are a lot of people, I would say the people that are going to be your host are your outgoing people, but typically they're not your administrative people.
Right.
So if we can help do the admin part for them, they're going to be much more successful.
And I think this is so critical too, because to me, this speaks of vision transference. So let's say you're not running a groups model, you're running a Sunday school model. And let's even say, hey, we're using the curriculum from the denomination and it's being sent down to us, or you're grabbing Lifeway curriculum or whatever. Hey, well, I know they're doing curriculum. It's still important as a pastor to maybe quarterly, it may just be twice a year, you choose how frequently to gather those people that are in your discipleship arm and cast vision to them about, hey, here's what we're trying to accomplish. Here's what I want to see happen. And that's a part of the training. Some of it is a training for those that do not know how to do any of that. Absolutely. But not just training, but it's articulating vision, passing that vision down. How will they know, again, what success is, what all this looks like if we're not vision casting to them?
That's good. And as pastors and church leaders, many times we try and make everything spiritual. But there is a place and time for practicality as well. So there's some practical things. Again, in your show notes, you need to make sure people know the times and the dates of the meetings. That's really important. What is a snapshot of the duration of each group? For us, our groups are typically 10 weeks long. Why do you make them 10 weeks? So there's a starting point and a stopping point. We want to make sure people understand if you got involved in something you really don't like, there's an exit strategy that we've already defined for you, and then you can try something else. What to expect upon completing a period discipleship group at your church. Instructions for each week's program, what you're supposed to expect, when you're supposed to show up, what's going to happen. People love information. Then they're not freaked out when they show up, when they know what's going to happen.
Absolutely. That's so incredibly true and just extremely valuable and just great insight. Here's what I would submit to you. Get a plan. Start discipling people. Start discipling your church. If you're watching this video and going, I have 10 people in my church and half of them are my family, right? My wife and 4 kids. That's great. Disciple them. That's our responsibility in our home, and disciple those other people. Pick a strategy, pick a model, and man, let's disciple people.
Let's be honest about it. Let's be upfront. Let's be clear. Let's be concise. Too much information can sometimes even still not be enough information. Just make sure they know everything that's going to take place so that they're comfortable when they walk in there, because you won't be effective unless they understand it and you understand it and the structure's in place. Church should be fun.
Yeah.
If you're not having fun right now, change some of the things in your life so that you start to have fun. If you are miserable, the people underneath you are going to be miserable. If you want to know what you look like, lead for 9 months and turn around and look at who's following you, because they're going to be a representation of you. So if you've been at your place for longer than 9 months, take a look at your people. God wants you to have an abundant life.
Yep.
He wants you to have a place that you can celebrate Him and meet with other people, and that's what church is really all about. So we love you. We're honored that you chose to spend time with us. Again, if we can help you in any way, our information is at the bottom, and we hope to see you soon.